Yeah, we're live now. Oh yeah. Yeah, but nobody knows it's there. No, not unless they're subscribed to my channel. That's the first time I've used this. Ah, I see you. All right, now we got to get your picture, the proper picture up there. That's mine. All right, let me see if I can. Oh, there you are.
Ah,
All right, now slide over there. There you go.
here, this is good.
And I believe we're live.
Wow. Okay.
Now you know how to do how you do everything. If you want to share the screen, you want to try that?
Actually, I don't.
No worries. So we're good.
If we've got it up and running, let's just kind of keep it rolling.
All right. Now, probably what you have to do is go to the other window and shut that down.
Okay.
All right. Keep talking and let's see where you are. You're good. I'm seeing you here. No feedback. Let me hear your voice.
Okay. How's this?
Very good. There's a little bit of a lag, but it's okay.
Yeah.
While when you're talking, you can look down at the bottom of the window. You see the little green dots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's good. I think we can go. And Patricia Kitchen. It's a Saturday morning. We're doing well. Actually, it's now almost Saturday noon. We've been preparing. This is our first hangout together. We're talking about LinkedIn and LinkedIn for journalists and LinkedIn for professionals. And you're probably one of the best people to talk about with us. So thank you very much for your generosity and your time.
Well, you're very kind to say that. I'm always happy to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. I really love talking about the basics. There are some very high-level things that I'm not exactly into, for especially people who are using it for business reasons and getting clients and customers. But I love talking to people who are just getting started out with it for their own personal, professional reasons. So I'm glad to be here.
Where do we start?
Well, I think possibly the best place is just to talk about how it's different from resumes. People think basically that LinkedIn is just one glorified digital resume, and it really is so much more than that. A resume is, as we were saying a little bit earlier, it's really something that you want to be targeting to a specific job to the degree that you can. You want to find out as much information about the position, what are they looking for, and then you look at your skills and your attributes and your experience, and those are the things that you want to highlight. If you have access to somebody who works at the company, it's great to give them a call or try to find out, is there any other little behind the scenes thing that's good to know about this job? And so you can sort of play up any skill that you have that would relate to that. So it should be very focused, very targeted. Whereas LinkedIn it has that sort of like experience element to it, but it's so much more than that. It's like a professional website almost. And it happens to come up very high in search if you've filled it out to a certain degree. So it makes you findable. And the best thing is you can say things that you would never say on a resume. You can talk about, what draws you to this field? What is it, excuse me, about this line of work that you really enjoy? You can talk a little bit about who you are as a person and the things that you really care about. So beyond, of course, this, the slice of your professional life or this one job you're looking for. So it's a very useful thing to have.
So young people starting off, they should have a LinkedIn profile. They should spend a little bit of time with it and then think about the positions that they're going to be applying for. Good advice for any job search.
Yeah, it is. And you want to have it set up well before you really need it, because like with any of these platforms, there are different things to get to know about it. And LinkedIn is constantly changing things, as are all the others. So, and also you want to start connecting to people before you really need to be looking for a job. So setting it up at the same time you're starting a job search is really not the best thing. And it's one of those things that you can build over time. Maybe you start off, the first thing you go in, you kind of fill in certain bits of information. Maybe you fill in, your name, and you certainly want to put a photo there. That's really, really important. And you kind of fill in your contact information. There's a place there where you can personalize the link, create a link so that you can share the link with different people. And you can put your name in there. That's what most people do, instead of having linkedin.in.patriciakitchen 543298762. You can get rid of that mishmash at the end. So it's a nice, neat link. And fill in certain basics, maybe a little bit of information about your work experience if you have some, your internships. So you have a basis to start working from, and then you go and enhance it further, maybe a few weeks later or a little bit later. So it doesn't have to be perfect right at the beginning. You put a base down, and then you start just like with anything. You just build on it from there.
Volunteer experience is good too.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. How could I have left that out? Absolutely. And sometimes you don't even know what experience you have, because it seems like, oh, I just always do that. I just always help my neighbors figure out how to use their computers. That's not a skill. But you know what? It is. So sometimes it's good to ask other people, what are the things that I do well and that I do regularly that I may not be thinking about here? And people might surprise you with, oh, do you know, you're always the one, you always plan the parties, you always plan the events, every birthday that comes along, you just naturally, even at the last minute, you're the one who gets the card and does the birthday cake. So this is an event planning type of skill. It's just fascinating and wonderful and exciting to hear about all the things that you just take for granted. So it's very, very good. Maybe you get together like a little group of people that you know, and you do that for one another. What are things I'm not thinking about? And then you kind of go from person to person, and everybody piles on all these ideas.
And then there's groups.
Oh, groups.
I'm maxed out, I think, at 50.
You belong to 50 groups?
I'm enjoying it. What can I say?
Are you active in the groups?
I should be more active. There's some like mobile journalism, social journalism that I'm active in, but not as much as I should. And that's a good way to get your name out and be participatory.
Exactly, it is. It's and it takes doing a little bit of research. So maybe once you have your basic profile there, you go to the section on groups, and you just within there you search for different groups that might be applicable to you and the line of work you're interested in. You want to try to check them out a little bit to see, is this an active group? Are there like 3 million people in this group, which perhaps means that nobody is going to get really recognized in a huge group? Or are there 12 people in here, which means that it might not be all that active, and maybe that's not a good bet. You sort of go through and you just start finding ones, and maybe you ask professors for ideas for different groups that would be good for kind of an entry-level person to belong to, and then it's good. It is good to be active, maybe in at least one or two, and then build from there again as your career progresses.
How about publishing on LinkedIn? It offers a very nice platform for sharing your ideas.
It is indeed, and you're speaking to someone who has not made use of that yet. So,
well, you gotta have a bully platform to publish on.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said.
I have a bully platform to publish on.
Yeah, I do. But the thing is, I That's one of my goals. See, even though I've written about LinkedIn for such a long time, and I do a little volunteer coaching on it, there are still things that people that, I personally haven't accessed, but that I really would like to. So that's sort of on my list of things to do too. Mm-hmm. So I guess, yeah, a question is, what do you think students would be interested in hearing about further?
Well, my students the other day, I mentioned the particular LinkedIn for veterans. So I
Yes.
have a few students who are veterans. LinkedIn for students,
Mm-hmm.
and LinkedIn for journalists. So at the, they have, I don't know if they still do this every 3 months. You can get together
Mm-hmm.
and get a little training and get access to LinkedIn Professional.
They do, and actually, maybe I will share a link. I have created a link of links to a whole bunch of LinkedIn resources. And one of them I just added because of our conversation last week about this. There's the link to LinkedIn for veterans. I already have LinkedIn for journalists. I have LinkedIn for students. And there are links also to other articles. And then there are links to how to do things, like how do you create that personalized LinkedIn URL with your name. There's a link on this list that will take you to the place to do
So
that.
have you created a bit.ly for that?
I have a bit.ly for that. And
so why don't we share that right now?
Okay, well, I don't really remember what it's. bit.ly LinkedIn resources.
Perfect. Simple as that.
It is.
And also,
I don't remember. Okay, where does the dot come in the bit.ly? But
well, like that, students being sharp, digital natives and all, if they can't figure that out, well, I'm sure they can. I think it's bit.ly/LinkedIn resources.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Good. LinkedIn was sold to Microsoft. Have you any thoughts on how that changes the world?
Well, it's yet to be seen. LinkedIn actually was it yesterday, the day before, I think, announced that they are upgrading its look on the website, the desktop, I should say. A while back, they really did a beautiful job of updating the app. There are many apps, and there is also, let me mention, an app specifically for students. And of course, I have a link to that on my bit.ly link. But I find I use LinkedIn so much more since this app on my phone has been, I don't know, it's just a cleaner look, it's more useful. And now what apparently they're going to do is sort of take the sort of neatness of that and be applying it to the desktop. And they have a new sort of, they had previously bought lynda.com, which is a training site, which is so great. It's just wonderful. There are different videos you can watch to learn how to do things. And so LinkedIn now is sort of pulling that into this other learning element that it's just announced. And so how much of that is coming from Microsoft, I really don't know. But we'll just have to kind of see what further develops. They have a lot more money behind them now, so it could be that there'll be some terrific things, and we'll kind of see where that goes.
I think one of the coolest things I ever saw was that a profile on LinkedIn tells people that you're ambitious about your career.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it is, yeah. So needless to say, I look at a lot of LinkedIn profiles, and some of them are the person may be really excited about their work, but you would never know it from the summary statement. What is it? It's a list of, here are my skills. I'm, reliable, accurate, blah, 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 hardworking. Here's what I've done. I've had this experience, that experience, this experience, and that's it. And basically that's repeating things that you would be saying elsewhere. And it doesn't have any of people aren't sharing that excitement that they have for whatever it is that they're studying, whatever it is that they're aspiring to do. And especially this summary section, it's just a great place to get across what draws you to this? How did you get into this? I was you know, I couldn't get into the class all my friends were taking, so this was the only one left. I went there, I took it. By the second week, I found out about XYZ, and from then on, I've been hooked, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of telling people that this isn't just, oh, my parents are making me study this, and it's like, wow, I'm on fire here with this. And you can,
it's a narrative.
It is. It's a story. It's really a place where you can manage your professional story, and you can also be sort of like having a little bit of a forward tilt to it, because as you talk about things you're doing, you also talk about other things you're interested in, and that sort of is something that almost leads you a little bit forward in a way. People see that, oh, this person maybe isn't quite doing this yet, but look, they have a strong interest in whatever. And they start thinking of you in different terms. And so it's a place to, I don't know, just sort of help with positioning for the future.
Well, I think what you're talking about is really the difference between writing for people and writing for machines. You can put your keywords in there and make sure that you pop up on search, but also be able to communicate on a very human level, that you've got a lot of passion, you've got enthusiasm.
I'll tell you, there are so many things I look at, profiles I look at, and I think, yes, they have search engine optimization totally covered, but they forgot that human eyes eventually are going to be reading this. It's just string after string after string of these words that, you know, got the person to pull up the profile, but then once they start reading it, it's just, I don't know, it's like, it just, yeah, it's really kind of amazing. So I think both of those things have to be covered.
Well, I hope hiring managers are like you.
Well, you can't count on that, though. It's there. You never know. There are some people out there who may not, you know, kind of may be more humbug types who are not going to appreciate having. I mean, you don't want to kind of go overboard with this either. The passion of the work. But you do. It's nice to have that kind of strung in there. So it gives the you know, the manager, and this is the kind of manager that you would want to work for. Somebody who looks at what you said about that and just smile like, wow, yeah, I remember when I was starting and I felt that way. The other bar humbug managers, maybe they don't take to it so well. Maybe that isn't a good match for you anyways.
It's amazing. 10 years ago, we didn't have this tool. And now it's revolutionizing hiring, finding, discovery, research as journalists.
Oh,
you know, LinkedIn is an amazing tool. Why don't you walk us through a little bit of the possibilities there?
Oh, well, it's extraordinary for research. I love it for that every bit as much as for the fact that I have my own personal website there. I know that Professor Krochmal perhaps rolls his eyes at the fact that I don't have a real personal website, but you know what? For me, LinkedIn it does the job. So there's that element, but then the research. This was a couple of years ago at on my job. There was a huge lottery winner who bought the ticket in our area, and we're talking about, I don't know, the mega one. And very little was known about him, but the ticket was bought in our area. That was the only thing we knew. So other people are trying to, you know, pull this together. I went on LinkedIn. I think we knew it was a very generic kind of name that we had. And there was something about, I can't remember exactly what the profession was he was in. Was it accounting? No, it was something else. Anyways, so I'm starting to scour LinkedIn. And I went here and there, and then there were a couple of possibilities, very sketchy LinkedIn profiles, extremely sketchy. But I found one, it was in someone in California. And so then I tracked it down. There were people there that I communicated with through the profile. It was a recruiter who had given a recommendation. And eventually I find the company, I get in touch with the company, and sure enough, it's the right place. And can I talk to this guy's boss? And sure enough, wow. Hours later, we were talking. It was so much fun. It was just doing that detective work and trying this and trying that and then trying this other thing. And yeah, it's great for that. also, when you take the LinkedIn for Journalists session, they actually walk you through, they show you how journalists can use this, different places that they can go to follow companies and see what kind of hiring they're doing and what that might mean. Could that possibly mean that they're going to be expanding into this other area? Maybe they see a lot of people from a certain company who have switched to kind of the job search mode. Oh, does that mean that possibly there have been layoffs at places? It's a great resource, that LinkedIn for Journalists group. So yeah, and it's just wonderful for research.
Let's walk through maybe some of the basics, the headline, summary, those things just sort of in
right. Well, the headline is what comes right below your name. And so often people will put just the name, their title, and the place they work, like reporter, news, or if they're students, okay, student, and then the name of the school. So that's taking up a little bit of space, but there's really a lot of real estate there to be used in that section. So again, you can sort of manage people's first impressions of you. You can say something like, professional writing student or professional writing major with intern experience in marketing, right? So you said a lot more than student at a school. You've sort of positioned yourself more. People get the sense you're not out of school yet, that you're sort of aspiring to do this work, but that you also have some experience, and it's sort of, again, that kind of forward look. So it's good to look around. You can sort of study people's headlines, different people's headlines, and also the summary sections, and get ideas from them. And it's just a good thing to sort of flesh out a little bit more and think about. So so that's one thing. And then the summary, I think we talked a little bit about that. That's the place where you can sort of express some of the passion that you have for this field, and what are some of the elements that you really like? What's that magic moment for you? Oh, there's nothing like, I don't know, I'm writing this report for whatever, and I didn't quite know how to pull this off, but then bingo, something happens and here's the answer. It's just those wonderful moments that just make you soar. So in the summary, you can, again, don't overdo it, but you can have like a couple of instances of that so that people really get a sense of that you're already, even though you're a student, you're already stepped into the shoes of people who are doing this work. And that's, of course, that's the kind of person that employers are going to like to hire. And
if I have one question for, if you're an older user of LinkedIn, how far should you go back?
Well, that sort of depends. I have left off before I moved to New York, I was a middle school English teacher at two places in Indiana and Pennsylvania. And I decided to drop that. I say in another place that I'm a former educator or something like that, so I've gotten that little bit across. But it's helpful not to include some of those really earlier experiences, especially if they don't really relate to what you're wanting to do now. And part of that, and also dates when you graduate from college. If you're somebody who's more senior or a little bit more advanced in your career, sometimes it's not useful for people to be aware of exactly what your age is, because you can get ruled out for reasons that are legal to be ruled out for. But also these things happen, and so why allow it to happen if you can manage it?
One last question.
Yes.
What's your impression of the job market these days, or maybe how it's changed over the last few years?
You mean for entry-level people in the?
Yeah. Just your thoughts.
Well, it's just incredible. It's fascinating what the digital world has done to the regular world. It's all one world now, but it's just, there are so many opportunities for people in areas that I can't even begin to describe. So there's a lot going on in certain areas. And as far as writing goes, it's you're a multimedia journalist now. You're not just a reporter, as you know. It's you're. I mean, I'm not doing this on my particular job, but you know, many people are. That they're out in the field and they're doing Periscope, they're tweeting, they're you know, just shooting video and also reporting. It's a challenge to kind of do it all and to do it well. So there's a lot going on there. But
well, that gives me a chance to get on my soapbox from saying the fundamental skill is good writing. Be a good writer. You can translate to any medium, but it all depends on having the essential fundamental skills of writing well.
I think that's correct. And some of these jobs, actually, people don't prepare for by getting good writing skills. They're more, you know, kind of production type jobs, and they don't have that basis. So that's why even taking as electives classes in writing, it's just such a useful thing. Even if you don't necessarily want to be a reporter or a writer or what have you, it's just, there's nothing like it to kind of help you learn that. Just the need for attention to detail and how to ask good questions. And it helps you no matter what you do later in life.
Right, Patricia Kitchen, you've been so generous with your time, and I want to thank you on behalf of the students who will see this. They'll learn from it, maybe get employed from it, or be something useful.
Well, that would be, I hope for all of those things for all of your students.
And I thank you for your Saturday, and I will talk to you very soon.
Okay, thank you.